exercise caution. We now move on, and a US peace proposal for ending the Russia-Ukraine war has raised concerns after reports that Trump officials met with a Russian envoy in Miami last month. The 28-point plan, reportedly drafted by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner with Dmitry Kyiv, calls for Ukraine to cede parts of Donetsk, limit its military and pledge not to join NATO. Proposals Kyiv has previously rejected. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he is ready to work with the US on their vision, but emphasized that Ukraine seeks a worthy peace, respecting its sovereignty. The plan has been criticized for appearing heavily tilted towards Moscow, while US officials insist Ukraine was consulted and that the proposal offers security guarantees and economic initiatives for both sides. Concerns have also been raised within the US administration and intelligence community about Dmitriev, who is under US sanctions, meeting directly with Trump officials. Critics argue the proposal could favor Russian interests and bypass interagency review. The White House stressed the plan is intended to achieve a durable win-win scenario and indicated that discussions with Ukraine will continue, while Zelensky is expected to discuss the proposals with Trump in the coming days. We're now joined by Raymond Vickery. He's an international affairs expert and former US Assistant Secretary of Commerce. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Raymond, it's always a pleasure to talk to you here on NewsX World. Could I get your initial thoughts on this peace agreement? Of course, it was reportedly drafted by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, in the presence of reportedly as well a US-sanctioned Moscow envoy. Your thoughts on that, and its critics say tilting towards Moscow's favor?
Well, Thomas, thanks very much for having me and allowing me to comment on this. I think it's very laudable that President Trump has kept in the forefront the desire to bring peace rather than any kind of aggrandizement for the United States. That having been said, peace, like war, has to be waged, and that means you have to have a strategy. You have to have principles on which the peace will be founded, and you have to have partners. Unfortunately, it seems to me that this strong arming of Zelensky and Ukraine is contrary to that. It is really a throwback to the real estate deal approach, the transactional approach, which has characterized the Trump administration from the very beginning. The problem is that, one, you have to stop the killing, but two, you have to have something which is durable and has principles to it. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was the worst transgression of the principles of non-invasion enshrined in the United Nations Charter since it was put into effect some 80 years ago. And this plan seems to reward the use of violence, the use of invasion, by giving property which is not even controlled now by Russia in the Donbass. Further, the demands of Russia that Ukraine really be neutered as a military force are really contrary to building a strong and durable peace. You know, before World War II, Chamberlain went to Munich and came home with an agreement saying that there would be peace in our time. And everybody thought that was laudable, but it wasn't peace, it was really appeasement. So this is a very, very difficult situation. It's one which is fraught with grave danger, not just for the immediate situation, but what happens in the future, not only in Europe, but in Asia and across the world. You have to have some principles. You have to have a strategy for peace. You have to have partners. It can't be just a real estate deal in which particularly you're dealing with people who are already sanctioned.
Yeah, of course. The US has called this a deal that's sweet for both sides. However, of course, there's huge concerns over this, particularly the territorial integrity of Ukraine, which previously Donald Trump has said that it can maintain all the territory that Russia currently occupies. That seems to have been retracted now. Why do you think that Donald Trump and his envoys have made this huge change in this peace proposal?
Well, I think it's because they're looking at this not from a principled long-term approach, but what's in it for me right now. There's no question that President Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize, and he has campaigned for it. And that's his view of the way in which he will go down in history as a great man. And so this is a part of that push. Besides, it's no secret that the Trump organization, the Trump family, has had a business interest with Russia, particularly in contacts with Putin, and those are to be furthered too. I think that that's the immediate emphasis. I would give credit again for trying to stop the war, stop the killing, and to have some sort of ceasefire. But you have to look at a longer term approach. You have to look at principles of justice, non-interference in the affairs of other countries, all of those values which are enshrined in the United Nations Charter and have largely kept the peace for over 80 years. This is not the way forward, in my judgment, but we have to play the hand which is being dealt. And one would hope that there would be other great democracies like India, like those in Western Europe, Japan, and so forth, which will weigh in on this to try to have a peace which is durable and just.
Yes. Raymond, do stay with us. Thank you very much for your insight there. We move now to foreign policy, to domestic, and Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she will resign from Congress, shocking many in the Republican Party. The Georgia Congresswoman, a close ally of US President Donald Trump, has been at the center of a public feud with him. In a recent video announcing her departure, Greene has explained her criticism of President Trump's policies, particularly on Epstein's documents and the impact of tariffs on voters. Moreover, in her resignation letter, Greene has defended her campaign to release the Epstein documents, emphasizing her commitment to justice for victims of sex trafficking. President Trump has responded to Greene's decision, calling it, quote, "great news for the country." This comes as after he had earlier called her a traitor and threatened to back another challenger in the upcoming election. According to reports, Greene is expected to leave the Congress on the 5th of January of next year. Raymond, there's something interesting happening in the conservative base, in the MAGA sphere, as we can call it. Seemingly these vocal critics of Donald Trump, who were formerly supporters, are now going against his agenda. Now, we haven't mentioned it, but there's a movement called This America First, obviously previously coined by Donald Trump, and it's seeing an increase in these individuals who believe that Donald Trump and MAGA isn't putting that at the forefront of the agenda like they said they would. Could you tell us a little bit more about who Marjorie Taylor Greene is and why this might be a sort of catalyst in the moving forward of the American conservative movement?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a member of the House of Representatives representing a very conservative district in the state of Georgia, in the northern part of it. And she has been a leader in the whole MAGA, Make America Great Again, America First approach, really from the very start. And prior to President Trump being elected in his first term. So she has been very extreme in some of her views. She's subscribed to various theories which are very far out, QAnon and so forth. But she has been willing to stand up since she's been elected to Congress, for the constitutional right, if you will, of the legislative branch to act as a control in the separation of powers which we have in the Constitution. This has not gone over well with President Trump. And her resignation, to me, shows that while there is a split in the MAGA movement, President Trump at the present time is in charge. She would have been opposed in a primary by a chosen person of President Trump. And whether she would have been nominated or not as a Republican to run again for Congress in 2026 is doubtful. And so what has happened, she has folded and given in rather than continue that fight. Particularly alarming is that she was saying that the House of Representatives should have stayed in session to deal with health care. And that was contrary to the approach of the Speaker, who is an adherent of the President. And so it shows that the march led by President Trump to a different form of government, that is an executive override of the legislature and even the judicial branch, continues. It's not complete at this point, and I believe there will be some turnaround in the midterms in 2026. But this resignation is symptomatic of the difficulty we have in shifting to an elected king sort of approach to government rather than checks and balances of the separation of power in the U.S. Constitution.
Raymond Vickery, as always, it's a pleasure to speak to you here on NewsX World. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining us.